Yo, Melly.
What's up?
Hey, before we start off episode 15, I want to say to my lovely mother, happy birthday. And to my little brother, who's turning 20, I'm 33. He's turning 29 on Monday.
You had to think about that.
Yeah, he's turning 29 on Monday. What's Monday? Is Monday the 6th?
Monday's the 6th.
He's turning 29 on Monday, and my mother is turning 21 tomorrow.
All right now.
So to my mother, my lovely mother, I love you. Hey, B-Boy, I love y'all. Hey, happy birthday. The episode is starting in 3, 2. Welcome back to Visionary Movements presents the podcast Who Cares. Today is August the 3rd, 2018, and we're here in the birthing place. To my immediate left, we have Gamal Taylor in the building on the yellow mic. And to my right, we have Coach Desiree Waller and Miss Afua Hassan. How y'all doing?
Doing great. Excellent. Having a great day.
T, how you?
I'm good. We're good. Jamal is good.
Oh, where my manners at?
Yeah.
Where are they?
Yeah.
You know how you remember what's that movie that Will Smith was in? The Pursuit of Happiness.
Mm-hmm.
When he introduced his son. Ladies and gentlemen, Houston, Texas, I want to introduce to you to my left, Gamal Taylor, and to my right in Coach Waller's lap, we have Cara Folks. So the kids of the future. These guys, we'll get into them in a second. But ladies and gentlemen, I feel the energy in here. How y'all feel?
It's good to be home. Good to be home. Good to be home.
No doubt, no doubt. So this is episode number 15, T. I have to be honest, episode 14 took a long time to get out because the file was huge and editing, it just didn't look right. It didn't look as good as it was when we recorded it, so I had to stay up all night to get that right. But ladies and gentlemen, if it is an inconvenience to watch us on the YouTube channel, we are now on SoundCloud and iTunes. Search us, subscribe to our channel, and you can listen to us on the go as well. But we're here in the birthing place, and I was excited to do this episode, the first one, on December the 27th, 2018. And after the kids were born, when we last spoke to y'all two, y'all bellies were damn near touching the tables.
No, it was 2017.
Round of applause.
It was
Yeah.
2017.
2007.
Yeah.
What'd I say?
You said December 2018.
Okay, my bad. December the 27th, 2017 is when we did episode number 11. Okay, but let me backtrack a little bit. It's customary fashion at Visionary Movements LLC that we present a gift to the features. Coach, we already gave you one, but here's a yellow Lutz tee for you.
Thank you.
Okay, and Miss Hassan, Miss Afua, this is one for you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem. So, Miss Hassan, before we get into the bulk of this episode, all right, how these beautiful, beautiful kids came to life, let's get into you right quick. Okay. How are you? Where are you from? And how did you come to Houston, Texas?
I'm from New Haven, Connecticut.
Shout out to the Northeast.
Graduated from Brown University, and I was looking for a place to study midwifery. At the time, in '83, midwifery was not legal in Connecticut. The kind of midwifery that I practiced was not legal in Connecticut. So I traversed the country looking for a place to learn and study midwifery, and I landed in Houston, and in Third Ward, Houston. So I've been here since '83, and I've lived here all except like probably 9 months, right here in Third Ward.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. So you're from the Northeast. What are the differences that you found people-wise between Connecticut and New York? You said Brown. Brown's in New York.
No, Brown is in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Okay, Rhode Island. What are the differences that you found between us and people out there? Well,
I mean, racism is the same anywhere you go. But here in Texas, it's upfront and personal. I remember when I first got here, Ayana, that's the midwife who encouraged me to come, and I worked with her before I went to midwifery school, and we were in Pasadena. And now my degree from Brown is in African American Studies. So there was this big, tall, 2-story white building with a sheet hanging from the second floor, and it said KKK on there. And I said, well, what does that KKK stand for? And she was like, I thought your degree from that Ivy League institution was, in African American Studies. And so I was like, yeah, but can they actually advertise like that? And she said that's where they had their meetings. I was like, oh. So I know in Connecticut they were having meetings, but they weren't advertised. It was not a sheet hanging from a building talking about this is where we meet. Okay, so that was one of the first differences. But in terms of people, in terms of us, we the same. Like we have the same love. We have the same discernment in terms of if I don't agree, I don't agree. But the love is still the same from north to the south.
Okay, good. So, I'm familiar. Well, let me not lie and say that I'm familiar. I had no idea that this was going on. I'm talking about
Midwifery?
Yeah, had no idea. Why did you decide to do that? Why that?
So I was going to school to be an obstetrician because I wanted to deliver babies. And one day I was seen in a clinic by a midwife, and I don't even know how I knew what a midwife still, was, but I did. And I was like, they still have midwives? And so then I said, okay, after I graduate, doctor is not what I want to be. I'm a midwife. And so then I went in search of how to be it. And right now there are 2 ways. You could be a nurse and then get a master's in midwifery, or you can be a direct entry midwife, and that's what I chose to be, which is I went to a midwifery school, and but I'm not a nurse, so I can't work in a hospital, but I never wanted to work in a hospital. I wanted to learn midwifery from the ground up, because after going to that Ivy League institution and knowing learning what power is and what power does, I was like, no, let me be with the people. And so I went to Houston School of Midwifery for 3 years, and from the very beginning, we were touching bellies and talking to moms, and we were reading the books and having class too, but it wasn't so far removed. It didn't take a long time before we actually started touching bellies and, learning how to draw blood and all that. So it was great. It was the choice for me. It was the choice for me.
You mentioned that it was illegal to...
Yeah, it's still, midwifery is still, direct entry midwifery is still illegal in like 20 states now. So if I practiced in Arizona or North Carolina, like I would go to jail. Illinois, I would go to jail.
Oh, wow. Why is that?
They call it practicing medicine without a license.
Okay.
And so it's, the laws haven't passed. And even here in the state of Texas, there's always legislature trying to be passed to shut us down. But there's a lot of midwives who are very politically conscious, and they are trying to keep the doors open. So I appreciate it. That's not me, but I contribute financially, but I'm not going to the meetings. But yeah, no, it is, they're trying to shut us down.
My that was one of my wife's concerns, because my wife is a nurse. And so when I first told my wife we were doing this episode, I said to her, hey, would you consider it? Like I said in episode 11, I said, would you consider it? And I've come to find out, I've never introduced this segment to the show, T-Melly, but I want to go ahead, and we used to do this thing before you joined us. It's called optimist, pessimist, or realist. I'm an optimistic person, very optimistic. My wife is a realist. And sometimes I'll clown her and say it's more on the borderline of being pessimistic, but she's a realist. And for her whole notion was, what if something goes wrong? So to hear that you were saying that they didn't want you to practice medicine, is that how you worded it?
The states where it's illegal, they deem it practicing medicine without a license. So they haven't given midwives licenses to be able to practice. That doesn't mean that there aren't midwives there practicing, but it's all underground. It's all underground. And so you have to know somebody, know somebody, know somebody to get. Like in Alabama, it's illegal. In the state of California, that's called a gray state, where midwives can practice, but like they can't get the they can't distribute birth certificates. Like here, these two moms, after the baby was born and they had the name for the baby, I filled out the birth certificate, Social Security card came in the mail. In a gray state, the client has to do it themselves. They have to go to the Bureau of Vital Statistics, prove that they were pregnant. They have to have affidavits and everything to say that, yes, I was pregnant, this is my baby, and then they can get a birth certificate and Social Security card. So that's a gray state. But where it's illegal, the clients have to do that themselves too. If they get a midwife, they have to go and apply and they have to register their own birth, because the midwife cannot do it.
Okay.
Okay, so I understand that's in gray states, and then there are states that don't.
It's illegal.
That it's illegal. Is that just in this country, or is it primarily here? Or because I mean, from my understanding, a lot of other countries, undeveloped and developed, they're primarily doing home births, or their births are with midwives. So why?
So there are a lot of European countries where a pregnant woman, the first person she's going to see is a midwife, and they only see an obstetrician if there's a problem. And so in this country, the AMA, that's the Association of the Medical Association, they have the strongest lobby, and they don't want us to practice because they think that we are dangerous. And your wife's concern is a valid concern, but in terms of what if something goes wrong, but you have to decide where you want to give birth. And then women who give birth outside the hospital take on a responsibility that women in the hospital don't take on, because women outside the hospital want an experience. What women get in the hospital is a procedure done. Okay? Yeah. It's a procedure, and that's something totally different. And so what you have to understand is that moms and babies die in the hospital, moms and babies die at home, and moms and babies die in a birth center. And that sometimes there's nobody's fault. Sometimes. But in the hospital, when it is procedure-based, meaning that there's no individualized care. If you're this, you're going to get that. It doesn't matter what your family history is. Like I had a mom, her mom and both of her grandmothers went to 43 weeks to have their babies. Generally, 40 weeks is term, and they might let you go to 42, but not 43. But when she gave me her history, her sister went 43. So what do you think she did? But in the hospital, they wouldn't allow it. And the baby wasn't ready to come until it was ready to come. And so I don't ever try to convince anybody to have a baby outside the hospital, because I do home births. I attend moms who have their babies at home, and I have a birth center right here in the heart of Third Ward. My clients want to be outside the hospital. And in Desiree's case, she was a first-time mom when she came. And I consider first-time mom star clients because they don't even know what they're getting ready to get into. But they know that they don't want to be in the hospital. And I ask, so why are you here? What are you calling me for? And so they explain. Everybody has a different reason, but they explain the hospital. I don't feel safe in the hospital. I don't, and they understand the system. 99% of women in this country go to the hospital to have a baby. 99%. And I would probably say 98% don't even know what that system is about. They don't know that more than likely they're going to get induced. More than likely their doctor, who they've seen their whole pregnancy, is not going to be the physician that's there when they have the baby. And they don't understand the procedures that happen. After you have a baby in the hospital and you're discontent, then they're like looking for alternatives. But Desiree came the first time. She came the very first time. And to me, that's really, really special because she's really choosing. She can see what happened to her friends in the hospital. She can, all of that, but she didn't experience that herself. And is it painful? Like, that's the biggest thing. Is painful, and if something goes wrong? But like, most women do not live as close to a hospital as all women do here in Houston. There are women here in Texas, it takes them an hour to get to the hospital. There are women who they have a outlying hospital, like not necessarily in the city. At 2:00 in the morning, if they need a C-section, the anesthesiologist isn't there. So they gotta wait. They gotta wait because you can't have a C-section without that. No matter how emergent, like it's a great emergency, and the anesthesiologist not there, it's not gonna happen. And so when people say, well, how about then, you leave the birth center, you leave your house, and that's how most people in the world have to function. There are people who have to walk 2 hours, 2 days to get to a hospital. And so we're very privileged here. But what is important to know is that our maternal, that's the moms, and infants, that's the babies, we have the highest rate of mortality and morbidity. That's babies dying and moms dying in the world. Like, there are 49 countries who are better than we are. And that's across the board, white, black, Latina. But African Americans have the highest. And so especially when women and nurses tell me, oh, something go wrong, I'm like, yeah, clearly there's a lot that goes wrong, right? And it's not, and you're right there in the hospital. Like, you're right there in the hospital, and it's because of lack of individualized care. It's lack of them even thinking that being induced is a bad thing. Like, if you need to be induced, sure, nobody is. And an induction is you're not in labor, and it's like, oh, okay, the reason why it's time for you to have a baby is you're close to your due date. Well, you could be close, but if it's not time for the baby to come, like, oh, the baby's too big. Too big for what? You have no idea how many women who have had a C-section the first time because they got induced because the doctor said the baby was too big. They had a 7-pound baby that time. Come to me after having a C-section. Those women are called VBACs, or they want a vaginal birth after cesarean. The baby's 8 pounds, but it comes out. So clearly the 7-pound, if the 8-pound baby could come out, a 7-pound baby could come out. But there are, like, what I want you to know is that I'm not hospital bashing on any level.
No doubt, no doubt.
I'm so happy that there is a place called the hospital that when it's beyond normal, because my tagline is a midwife follows the path of a normal birth. When it's not normal, I'm going in. So I'm happy that there's a place to go into. But what happens in the hospital, you don't get normal. You get, this is what we're going to do to you. And women have very little voice because then they say, oh, we're going to take the baby, we're going to call CPS, or the baby's going to die. Like, they throw all of these things at you at the time that we're supposed to be going, as opposed to, So that's the thing that I'm against. If a hospital was a place that a woman could go in, walk around, change position, get in water, eat like eating. Eating is so essential, especially when you're in labor for 2 days and you don't get to eat. In the hospital, all you get is an IV. And why do you think they don't allow you to eat in the hospital? Why do you think that is? Do you have any idea?
You want me to take a guess? Or
Yeah, you can say. I mean, if you don't have it top of your head, yeah. Why do you think that they don't allow laboring women?
Because they got to be ready for surgery.
You got to get ready for surgery.
No, well, I ain't know that.
Yeah,
I
so
wouldn't have guessed
they're
that.
anticipating everybody having to have a C-section, so nobody can eat.
So, and let me interrupt you right quick, Miss
Sure.
Afua, because another reason why I wanted to do this podcast again was that, for the simple fact that a lot of people that had seen this episode 11, The Business of Being Born, now playing on the website, ladies and gentlemen, but a lot of people that had seen that episode were like, man, I learned a lot.
Oh,
I had no idea that was going on. I had no idea that this is, a way of life, or in fact that this is, because what I was telling people,
that this is an
option.
option. That
What
is
I
an
was
option.
telling people was this: Coach Waller and T-Melly weren't trying to tell people, hey, this is the way you need to do it.
No.
They were trying to remind women of this is how it used to be, and because of Western expansion, it became a hospital thing. And so I talked to a couple of people because my homeboy hit me, and he was just like, hey, man, we can't even carry. It's interesting that I loved your episode because it taught me a lot, but we can't even carry. Every time we've tried, the baby's been, what's the term? It's
Miscarriage. He had
it's a miscarriage.
Cervix, yeah.
Yeah, and then another woman that used to work in my apartment complex said that she lost a baby and they had to go right in and get the other one. She had
Right.
twins and she lost
Okay.
one. She had to go right in.
Right.
So just the information that y'all are giving is really, I really enjoy it. I got to say, ladies and gentlemen, these women are both breastfeeding here, okay? And when the notion came about, should we do it? I said, yes, of course. This is the place that, nothing is out of the ordinary here. I love it. Continue on what you were saying. Did I interrupt you?
No, I mean, we were just talking about why women don't get to eat in the hospital. But
Because they believe.
Because if that happens, then you don't get to eat. But really and truly,
Wait, no. You're saying no. They don't let you eat because they
thinking
believe
you're gonna
that
have
surgery is going to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you have food in your stomach, you can aspirate, and then it could be a problem and all that. But
It's a liability issue.
yeah, it's a liability issue. And so, but if you think, oh, the baby's going to come out of the vagina, then yeah, eat away. But what is important is for women to decide what kind of experience they want to have.
Mm-hmm.
And once you decide what kind of experience you want to have, then search out the healthcare provider that can give it to you. But if you feel safer in the hospital, please go there. Because I don't want somebody either in my birth center or at home and they don't feel safe.
Yeah.
You know?
So you got to come in with your mind made up
Yeah.
already,
Mind is
and
off.
that was their point.
Yeah.
That was their point.
Yeah.
So what do I want to say? So how many kids do you have? Kids?
4.
You have 4 kids.
Four children. 2
And-
girls and 2 boys.
And how did
They
you
were
have
all born at home
born at home?
with a midwife. I was not the midwife. I was
Okay.
I was
You
the
were the-
laboring
you-
woman. Yeah,
you
no,
were in
no,
labor.
No. Yeah, no.
Round of
no.
applause
Yeah,
for that.
I was laboring, so I needed support. I needed a midwife, and Ayana Day was the midwife who encouraged me to come to Houston and stay. And we found Houston School of Midwifery, and then after a school, I worked for the school for 3 years, and then Ayana and I practiced together. And it was about 10, 12 years. Then I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this myself. And so that's where I am now. And I'm in my, 35th year.
Wow. Round of applause for that, man. Wow.
We're in August. Yeah, we're in August. I came in August.
So how many babies would you say you have?
Probably over 1,100.
Wow. Round of applause for
We
that.
do
Yeah.
twins and breaches. Breaches when the butt is coming first. We also do external versions that if the baby is breached, we try to turn it to get it to be head down. But in the event that it doesn't go head down, then if the mom wants it, then I stand there when the baby comes out.
excuse me for the lack of better words, but out of Desiree and T-Melly, whose delivery was more complicated?
Neither. The last one, neither. I mean, no. Takara came in complete. The biggest complication was, could she wait for the water to fill up?
Oh, wow.
The tub to fill up that was the biggest thing. And Desiree, like, she'll tell you her story. Like, I
can't
got
wait.
there. I
can't
got
wait.
there, but barely. Like, she didn't make it to the building. Yeah. So no, I mean, and are there complicated? Yes, there are. Like, yes, there are.
So you've had to rush a patient or one of your, you call them bellies? What'd you call them? Bellies?
Okay, so mamas who haven't had their baby yet, they're mamas and bellies, and then I have mamas and babies. So today I have mamas and babies because the babies are out. So yes, I've had to take a mom to the hospital that had a belly, and I had to take a baby to the hospital after it was born because it was a really complicated situation. And so, but I don't wait. It's like I see that it's not normal, and I'm like, okay, let's go.
Okay.
And they understand because they trust me. It's not a matter of anything else. Like one of the things that I do a lot is I spend a lot of times with my moms prenatally. I see them about every 2 weeks so we could talk and see how you're doing, what's your stress level, what's going on, because we bring all of those things with us to labor. And I know that I have clients that see a doctor and me at the same time, and I'm like, does your doctor know this situation? And they're like, nope. I'm like, not sharing that can block you from having a baby. So if you just go to the hospital, you'll just be in labor forever. And then they'll say, failure to progress, and I got to cut it out, you know? And so there's a lot of intimacy that happens between the family, because it's not just the mom, it's the dad too. And sometimes the grandmom. I got to tell the grandmom, no, you can't come.
So, Houston, Texas. We're here in Third Ward, Texas. A place I know very well. I went to church out here coming up at the birthing place. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JohnJack_VM_LLC. And you can watch this episode sometime next week at www.visionarymovements.com. Now, Coach Waller, T-Melly, it's circa January 1st, 2018. Coach, we were on winter break. T-Melly, I had just gotten married. This was my first Christmas with my wife. And, I was enjoying the time off as educators do. And my thought was, when are these women going to have these babies?
Right.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, tell you what, I'm going to insert a clip into the episode. Y'all watch this right quick. Okay. Oh, everything Visionary Movements is on the website, visionarymovements.com. Under the apparels tab, you can get the Lutz tees. Yo, it's Christmas season. Get you somebody a gift. Get a gift for them at visionarymovements.com, man. Y'all got anything else?
Nah, I'm good.
No, the only thing I have is that you have to bring us back after these babies are born.
I was planning on that.
So that we can tell our similar but different stories, because our experiences will not be the same. Can I be enlightening?
It would be great if you let me film just a snippet of it, just a snippet, just to throw on the podcast, just a snippet.
I don't mind.
Okay, I know T-Melly wouldn't mind. So when does the baby drop is my thing.
See, you never know. That's the beauty of it. This baby gets to choose their own birthday.
Okay.
They're not letting that baby choose their birthday in the hospital.
But y'all both finna have Capricorns, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I hope the clip, it just reminds me, y'all was saying stuff like the baby's gonna come when it's gonna come. So, T-Melly, I remember texting you earlier this year, and I remember saying to you, yo, has the baby dropped? You remember that? I was like, has the baby dropped? Has the baby dropped? Has the baby dropped? let's go back to that time. Talk to us about that time period.
Okay, so my due date was January 1st, and Jamal was supposed to be a New Year baby, and my husband was very anxious about this, and we were excited about the date, and we had a office visit with Afua, which is her prenatal visit, and so we were like, Grant said, when is the baby gonna come? Like, he should like be here right now. And so Afua said, well, only 4%. Hey, little boy, only 4% of due dates. Mommy's actually, on the actual due date. The due date is just an estimate. So Grant's frustrated. Needless to say, Jamal decided to make his debut. He started to descend on the 6th at 3 a.m. And so when we got to Afua, it was maybe 5 a.m. And I knew, my water broke. I didn't need to rush here. Of course, my contractions were hitting. But I took a shower after my water broke. I was literally, I was in my bed. And so the contractions were hitting. And so every time they would hit, they tell you to time it. So I would log into my little calendar and I put the time. And then I try to doze off to sleep. Then it hit me again. So I put the time that it's happening. And then I felt a pop. And so I was like, I think my water broke. And so Grant was like, seriously? I was like, yeah. So I get out of bed and I'm trying to run to the restroom so that I don't, the amniotic fluid isn't on the carpet. So I make it. And so he's like, do I need to call a fool? And I said, no, I need to take a shower. He's like, take a shower? No, let me call. I said, no, let me take a shower. I can't go to her like this. So I took a shower, and so contractions are still hitting. And, he was like, you want me to call her now? I said, no, I need to brush my teeth. So I yes. So I had to brush my teeth, and and then he's like, "You want me to call her now?" I said, "Yeah, go ahead and call her." Called her. Afua said, "Okay, well you can come if you feel like you're ready," because normally she'll have people that'll say, their water broke, they're having contractions, but they're not necessarily ready to deliver. Your cervix hasn't completely dilated. So I was like, yeah, I'll come. Now, we stayed far from Afua, but we made the trip. There are about 4 hospitals on the way to Afua. There are maybe 5 or 6 other birthing centers in my area, and we made it to Afua. I didn't want to go to any of the other ones. I will say this, you should look up Afua's reviews. They are absolutely amazing. So did my OB, because I was one of those people that had a doctor and a midwife in the beginning. And then I was like, this is just foolish. I'm going to stick with my midwife. But look up the birthing place reviews. But we made it to Afua in record time, about 25, 30 minutes. Grant was flying. And so we got here.
What up, G. Taylor?
We got here. It was 5:05 a.m. I was contracting and laboring on the bed. Afua was like, I have to check you. And I was getting ready to have a contraction. I said, okay, you're going to have to wait. Okay, you can go. So she checked me. She said, oh, you're full. You're complete. You can push whenever you're ready. And so Grant was like right now? Like right now? And so she said, And so I'm on the bed. I'm thinking Afua's getting my water ready because we discussed me having my baby in the water.
Yeah.
But because I was already complete, she was like, okay, well, she might just want to have the baby here on the bed. So I asked my doula, LaMonica, I said, hey, is my water ready yet? And she said, oh, well, let me ask Afua. Afua, is her water ready yet? So Afua said, oh, you still want the water? And I said, yes. So she, drew my water. It was ready. I got in, and maybe not even 20, 30 minutes later, I had the baby. Yeah. And he was born at 6:24 a.m. So we got here at 5:05, had him at 6:24. Contraction started at 3 a.m. So that is almost 3.5 hours of contracting. Not everybody's story's the same. Everybody's body's different. But, I guess I'm kind of like a rabbit. It just happens. So.
And that's January
6th. So
January
he was
6th.
5 days past the actual due date that was assigned to me. Yeah.
Wow.
Guess it's my
Coach
turn.
Tell them how you came for your prenatal that day.
So on January 6th, that morning, I had a 10 o'clock prenatal with Afua, and it was funny because Coach Dyke and Takara had already texted me saying that she had went into labor and successfully had the baby. So when I came in, I was excited, I was enthusiastic, and I was like, I know it's my time. Now, mind you, before I even had her on the day that she was born, I was always saying throughout my pregnancy that she was going to come on January 6th. My grandmother, my mother, I always told them that because that's exactly 10 days after Kara's estimated due date from the OB, which was December 19th. So I always said 10 days after, because my first son that I had with Afua came exactly 10 days after. I like to think that things like that kind of stay the same. Right. So I had been saying she was going to come on January 6th. That's 10 days after. That's when it's going to be. Anywho's came to the group prenatal, and not the group prenatal, came to my individual prenatal. And, talking to Afua, I'm like, look, I'm ready. It's just 10 days past due today. What do we need to do? Afua checked me. Well, actually, before I went in, she took me over to one of the rooms to see Takara and to meet little Jamal, who was sleeping so peacefully. I gave her a hug, and I'm just like, yay, congrats. Can't wait to talk more about it, but I'm going to let you have your time and your peace.
So you were still pregnant at the time?
Still very much so pregnant. Still very much so pregnant at that time.
And she wasn't happy. She could say, oh, yeah. But she said, I'm so happy you had your baby.
Yes.
I'm so happy for you. That's what she said.
Deep down inside, I truly am, because this experience is just, I just know what it is. Having a baby is such a special, spiritual experience. And so to do it in this environment, to just be great and to just, it's just like a womanhood thing that I just so appreciate, and which is why I love the birthing place so much, because the group prenatals is just amazing. I love sharing my story, and I love hearing the stories of other women, because it's just is empowering. It's like wow, so much encouragement, but not even just to have a baby out of the hospital, but kind of in life, just to go after whatever it is that you want and know that you can achieve it if you put your mind to it. Right. So, that's just a testament to everything that happens here. Anywho, Afua had checked me. I was 1 centimeter dilated at the time, and that's really nothing. You could be 1 centimeter dilated for a month, So I'm like, okay, we got to work something out. Say, hey, Kara.
She's going to be an actress.
Okay, yeah, we heard you.
She's going to be an actress.
We heard you. So, I asked Afua for some Start It Up, which is a concoction that can kind of jumpstart labor if you are already started doing something. Apparently, I did. I was already ready. So I took some of the Start It Up, and me and Kareem left and went on about our day. Funny enough, we went to Sunshine's. If y'all haven't ate Sunshine's, y'all need to go there. We went to Sunshine's.
That's in Third Ward, too?
That's in Third Ward as well.
No doubt, no doubt.
Try it out. Nice vegan food. Went to Sunshine's. Ran some other errands after we left the birthing place, and I started feeling some contractions. I'm like, babe, I'm starting to feel a little something, but you don't want to get too excited because you don't know if it's really happening.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, Coach.
No
what
problem.
time of day is this? Because Takar had Jamal at 6 in the morning.
Okay, yes.
So what time? What time is it? Yeah, let's get to the details.
Because I came at a 10 o'clock appointment.
Okay. 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Okay.
Went to Sunshine's around 2 o'clock.
Okay.
I also went to go see my mom that day around 3 o'clock. When we left her, we decided we were going to go to the park because I was having some contractions.
Okay.
So around 3 o'clock, I started having contractions. Decided I was going to go for a walk at the park because, go walk that baby out. So
yeah.
We take one lap around the park, and I'm like, babe, I think we need to go home, because it's starting to get a little bit intense.
Go home or go where?
Go home.
Go home.
To my home.
Okay.
The same way Takara just chilled a little bit before she came. I did the same thing. I told Afua, actually, when I came to the prenatal, that I was going to come in complete. Right. We'll get more into that story.
Okay.
Complete means that you are completely dilated and effaced. You are ready. You have enough space down there to
just pull
bring
the
this baby through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I told Afua that I was going to come in complete, and I did, actually, a little bit more than complete. Anyway, so we left the park. We left the park because I was having intense contractions. Went home, hopped in the tub. Actually called my mom. Was like, "Hey, can somebody come get KJ? That's our 2-year-old son. Can someone come and get him? I think we're about to go into labor." My younger brother actually came and picked him up, and he kind of hung around the house a little bit because he wanted to see like what's really going on. So I got in the tub because I'm like, okay. Last time with my first son, it was kind of a elongated kind of process. We had to walk. It was some time put into bringing him here, right? So I was like, we're going to take our time. I think Kareem called Afua and was like, "Hey, Afua, she's contracting.
Call me when you're on your way. Give me a heads up."
Right. So I got in the tub, and I was in the tub for about probably like 10, 15 minutes thinking that the contractions would subside. That didn't happen. Carr said, "Will you hold her, please?" I heard it go crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you're in a birthing place, all right?
Yes.
We got kids here. We're breastfeeding here. The kids are interactive. This is what's going on here. Live from a birthing.
The realness.
From the birthing place.
It's
from
life.
The birthing place,
it's
rather.
Complete life. And
Yes.
that's why I advise any woman who thinks that they may want to, deliver their child using a midwife to come and check Afua out, come to a group prenatal, something, because the energy here is so vibrant. I call this place a historical marker. I don't know what we need to do to make places historical markers, but this place is definitely a historical marker, and they need a sign out front that says so many babies were birthed here, and even our 2 children will grow to do something amazing, and then they'll be able to refer back and say, "I was born at the birthing place, on the same day as Jamal, and we are both great, awesome, Anyways, I took a bath, got out the bath, contractions went from a 5 to a 10. It was rocking and rolling. I had no clue of how it jumped from a 5 to a 10 like that, but it did. So we hopped in the car. It was, just so you guys know, January 6th was a Saturday. Hopped in the car on a Saturday evening around 5:30. We live about 45 minutes away from here. And for some reason on that Saturday, it was traffic on I-10, which is like a rarity, but it was traffic. We do not have, at the time we did not have Easy Tag, but those contractions were coming so hard. Laboring in the car is not fun.
Yeah.
Okay, especially when you are that far along, when the contractions is at a 10. If you're a first-time mom, you don't even understand what the levels of pain is until you experience it. But because I have done it before, I knew where I was at. I was like, "Oh yeah, babe, you better get us here now." So he ended up having to swerve through the little white things that they have on I-10 to get on the Easy Tag HOV lane. Oh yeah, we had to break through that.
Jeez.
And we rode. Funny enough, we got to 59. There's traffic there too. It was terrible traffic. I don't even understand why that happened.
Y'all coming from the west side.
Yes. Yes. So thankful to her, she was holding on, just in time. So we get on the back street, Hutchins, and actually on 59, I had to pull off my pants. Y'all, this is going to get a little bit explicit.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
This
Air
is my
horn,
birth
air
story,
horn,
so
air
I
horn. Go
have to
ahead.
give it to you like it was.
Cheer.
Okay? On 59, coming up on like Elgin, I think was the exit, I had to take off my pants because I felt like I had to go. And when I say go, I mean like a number 2, which is something that commonly happens whenever you're going into labor because that force is coming down. So pulled off my pants. I got my legs kipped up on the dashboard, and I'm like, "Babe, you better get here." Mind you, let me tell you, Kareem is a safe driver. He does not rush nowhere. I have to throw this in there because it's so important, the power of spirituality and understanding your energy. Because when I tell you we were in a time warp, there was traffic, and we were coming from 45 minutes away, and I tell you, it felt like, it may not have literally been 15 minutes, but it felt like that for me, which is the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
So we were definitely protected, in our journey here. But we got on the back road. Me being experimental and loving this whole birthing process, like I just love it. I stick my hand up there, okay? Yeah. And I was like, "Babe, I can feel the baby's head." I was so shooken up. I could not believe that this was literally happening to me right now compared to my first birth experience.
And it was cold
Wow.
outside.
And it was cold outside.
It was.
It was cold outside.
It was cold outside. It was January. You know how that is. January in the evening, So
Wow. Houston, Texas. Go.
Houston, Texas. I felt my baby girl's head. I felt her head. And I said, babe, you got to get here because she is about to come like now. Seriously. We pulled up outside. Afua had an intern kind of girl who we had never met before, so that was kind of new. But, that's a testament to our ability to just adjust and do what we have to do. So Kareem hops out the car, pulls out in front. He jumps out the car, just puts it in park, jumps out the car, runs in and yells, Afua! Mind you, Afua's upstairs relaxing. She's like chilling. He runs upstairs and yells. And from what Afua is telling me, she had to kind of be like, did you just hear something? And they're like, yeah. They come downstairs. Afua gets to the car. She asks me, do you think you can walk? I was like, no. I did not think that I could walk because I felt like my legs were already kind of like broken. Like, I don't know. Like my pelvis was already...
It was open.
It was already open, so it was no walking. And a minute or two after Afua got down there, she was here easily and effortlessly. I didn't have to push. I didn't have to do nothing but just relax and be receptive to the process that was happening. And
Kareem took a picture.
he took pictures.
He took a picture on the phone of the baby coming out in the car.
Yeah.
As that's where it happened, right in front of the building. I guess it was great. Nobody was parked there, right? Nobody was parked there. And I was like, because when the contraction came, I was like, oh, there's the baby. Blanket. It was like, it was amazing.
And you know what?
It
I
literally
think
was
I think you sent me that picture.
Yeah, because
I don't have it. I need it.
Oh, I need to get it to you.
I think when I look at my phone, I think you sent me that picture. Just not of all the intricacies, just the baby part.
Yeah. Well, he was so aware, which is one of the reasons why I love him so much. He's so focused.
You're talking about Kareem.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was so focused and in tune with understanding that capturing that moment
Was important.
and so beautiful. And the pictures that he got, he had one picture to where she's actually like halfway out, halfway in. Mm-hmm. She tearing that earring up. Yeah. Halfway out, halfway in, and then he got another picture to where, and mind you, Afua's head is in there too, like kind of being what she is, kind of directing this baby on out and being a great guide, helping her come out. And then he also got a picture of her laying on my chest, and it's funny because her and I are making the same exact face, and it's just this face of like amazement, like eyes are wide, mouth is open wide. We're both just like, this just happened to us. And so yeah, I picked her up, and the placenta and all of that stuff is, I haven't birthed the placenta yet, and so I had to walk holding her like this, and it was just amazing. I really couldn't have asked for a better birth story, myself or Kareem, because we were just like, listen, we didn't have to come in here and actually labor. Because that's the laboring is the hard part, you know what I'm saying? And we didn't have to come in here and continue to deal with that pain. It was just like, baby's here. So similar to Takara, 3 hours after contraction started, baby was born. It was just like, boop. They were ready.
What time was
So she
Cara
came
born?
at 6:10 p.m.
So your babies are 12 hours apart.
Yeah. And then, if you know anything about divine balance, in every aspect of our lives, we want to achieve divine balance with our masculine and feminine energies. You have to balance them out for you to be your best self. And them two coming at the same time. Another important part, we talked about this on the last podcast. Mm-hmm. I didn't know her gender. We didn't find out.
Okay.
We were waiting until she was born. So
Okay.
her gender reveal was her birth. And so when she came out, Afua said, check and see what the baby is. Because we're outside and because it's nighttime and it's dark, we had to get the cell phone and turn the flashlight on. And Kareem opened her legs and was like, it's a girl.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was elated. I was
Wow.
so happy that it was a girl. And that was just a testament to divinity and divine balance. So 12 hours apart, we had a son, we had a daughter, And this lady right here was the great escort to make sure that they all.
It is.
Yeah. You made sure.
In the good sense. In the good sense.
Of course.
Yeah.
Not no back page stuff.
Exactly. But yeah, it definitely helped and made sure that they got. And you know what? I know Takar can attest to this, and anybody else that decides to go with Afua for her midwifery services, but I felt so comfortable. Let me tell you, once you got out there and was at the car and was there with me, I was like, now I can have this baby. Now we can do this. Because in all honesty, Cara could have came back there at 59. She could have came on 59 in Elgin. She could have came on Hutchinson. She could have came. You know what I'm saying? But I, because I released her. I'm like, baby, come on. We got to hold you on in here because daddy's going to freak out. That would just be way too much. We can do it as long as we know we have a fool right here. And so right when you came out, it was just like, okay, it's time. And beautifully enough, we didn't have to do any work. She was like, I'm here. I'm ready. You don't have to do nothing. You don't have to do nothing. Just put your hands here. And so it was a great, great, great experience. So at the end of the day, both of our beautiful children were born on the same day.
January 6, 2018.
January 6, 2018. And this girl right here is active.
So before we move forward to the next segment, let's take a look at that scene in episode 11 where you were telling me that you didn't know the gender of the baby.
Okay, let's do it.
The thing is, when you're having your baby in the hospital, they're going to force you to have the baby on your back, which is a very unnatural position. This will be graphic, so if you have children around.
Come on.
But then again, it's okay. It's totally natural.
Right.
So your vaginal canal, of course, is up front of your body. And so your vaginal canal comes up this way. If you're laying on your back, then you're laying on that as well. So your baby's moving against gravity. So if you're laying on your back, that's what it is. Hospitals will not allow you to move any place, or you can't get around. You can't turn over on all fours, which is a natural position to be in when giving birth. You can't squat. Most hospitals will let you labor in water if they give you the option to do a water birth, but they won't let you have the baby there. You have to get out and still lay on the bed. So in that situation, when you're in an unnatural position, your skin down there can't stretch the way it needs to. Your pelvis can't move out the way it needs to. And a lot of doctors, all doctors are working on the time clock because it's about money. We need your bed. We have another mom that's going to be coming in. We need this money. So they're going to do whatever they need to do to get the baby out. Use forceps, use the vacuum, which can cause brain damage, can cause deformities, can cause asymmetrical face deformities, where you will see some people that have a warped face. It could be because they were pulled out through forceps from the vaginal canal. That's painful for the mom. It's uncomfortable. Even if she has an epidural, she can still feel something's pulling on her. So it's just an unnatural thing to do. And honestly, having a baby in the hospital is more of a money-driven thing. They don't.
Of course.
I'm sure all the healthcare providers love the babies and they love bringing forth life, but more than anything, it's about money. It's all it is. So I'm gonna opt out of the hospital situation in the future as well.
And I'll add on to all of that. So,
Go ahead.
Okay, so I specifically chose a midwife because my midwife chooses to go with what works for me. Okay? We go with the natural flow of things. We let nature have its way. You go to a hospital, it's this. You can come into a hospital with a birthing plan. This is what I would like to happen.
Right.
And the doctor's going to say, well, this is what we are going to have happen. You know what I'm saying? There is no choice. There is no choice. And then, of course, I understand if you're in the hospital and the doctor comes and tells you your baby's heart rate is dropping, okay? As a mom, because in your pregnant state, you're already a mom. You're already caring. You're already having feelings for this baby that you've held in your womb for so long. So you're like, whatever the doctor says, I'm going to go with because I care about my child. I care about my baby. So they put you in vulnerable states. They put you in a place to where you are not in any form of control. Okay, you don't control anything in the situation. You may be perfectly fine. But if they tell you something different in that setting, you're going to follow whatever they're telling you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Houston, Texas. Again, we're at the birthing place in Third Ward, Texas. And if you're seeing this for the first time, we have episode 11 up on the website under the podcast tab. Ladies, you have to decide before you even come here that you want to do this. Okay, that's what I wanted to add in to what you were saying, Coach Waller, that you have to decide that you want to have your baby this way and have it by a midwife before you come in, because I think Miss Afua, you were saying something about coming and seeing the place. I think that before they get here, they need to be able to have decided, hey, I want to have my baby this way.
Everybody doesn't know that this is what they want to do, but you have to think that the hospital might not be the place where that's where I want to give birth. Because if you want to give birth in the hospital, my suggestion is just go ahead and go. Don't even explore. But if you're looking for other options, all right? Because even as midwives, though we do the same thing, we do it differently. My religion is love, okay? Family and love.
They're horn for
and
that.
So that's why I do group prenatal. That's why my private prenatals are the way they are. I mean, that's why I have a breastfeeding meetup group, is because it's all about love and making sure that you can be the mom, can be the best person that she could be, because not that the dad doesn't raise them, but we breastfeed. They come out of us. Even though it took the dad to make the baby, it came out of us. We had that whole experience. And even with breastfeeding, like, that's us. And so I try to make sure that the whole family is whole, because there are times dad have issues. Like, I have a dad right now that is, he doesn't know if he wants his wife to breastfeed in public. And so in the dad's group, that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about on August 26th is what it looks like for the mom to breastfeed in public and why not, you know. But so you can come and explore, and they shop around for midwives. Like, you know, some people want somebody close to them. Clearly, Takara and Desiree, that wasn't important because they both drove a distance. Some is because of price. Some is because of experience. Some are because they want somebody who looks like them, you know. And when African Americans say, oh, but, you know, they apologize for wanting African American midwife, I said, but Caucasians don't apologize when they want a Caucasian midwife or a Caucasian physician, you know, so you don't have to apologize for that. That's fine to want somebody who looks like you. But the most important thing is the fit.
Yeah.
Is the fit.
That's something,
you know?
Coach Waller said in episode 11.
Is the fit. And once you find that right fit, then even if you don't have all the money, if you want that, you will manifest it.
Yeah.
You will manifest it. You know, you'll manifest it.
Yeah.
But that means you have to want it.
Yeah.
Can I jump in here?
Go ahead. Look, listen.
You
Go
better
ahead.
speak that truth.
Go ahead.
I love her.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the truth. And I'm jumping in here right now because you just said, Coach Waller, you said you have to have your mind made up. Mm-hmm. When I say that, I mean, if you decide I'm going to use a midwife, you have to have your mind made up that you're going to deliver your baby in the most, like Afua said, normal way possible. Mm-hmm. Because if you have any self-doubt about your capabilities to get this job done, you're not going to have the outcome that you want.
Right.
I will tell you honestly, like Takara said, when I was riding that car, having those terrible contractions on I-10, I passed up that Memorial Herman on I-10 by Memorial City Mall.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
yeah.
I looked at that, and you know, your ego is...
Shit!
Yeah, because your ego will play tricks on you, and that ego is that fear.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
That ego is that fear, because when I rode by, I looked at that hospital, because I was in a lot of pain. I was already at 10 centimeters dilated, so you're ready. You know how strong those contractions are. And so when I rode by, I looked at it, I thought to myself, but I understand what your ego is and who your true self is. So my ego said, pull over right there and let me go ahead and go in there because this is hurting bad. You know? but I knew that's not what I really wanted. So if you are not completely sure of yourself and what you really want, whenever you have a thought like that, you will think that it's you, okay? And you will give in and you'll do something that you really didn't intend on doing. Right. So for me, I mean, I already had a child using Afua before, and it was great, you know, and I was like, I know what I want, so what is this thought even coming into my head for? But that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying?
See, because that's the thing. You had your first baby with the Afua.
Right.
My first baby, Talib, was at the hospital actually. So, and I wanted to have him at a birthing center. I had no idea about Afua at that time. This was 2009. But in that situation with my first baby, I developed pregnancy-induced hypertension, and that can be brought on by a number of factors. For me, it was stress, a high stress situation. So the doctor, he was actually due on Valentine's Day, but they induced my labor. And I had to have him on the 11th of February. Had him vaginally, but with that particular pregnancy or that birth, I had to have an episiotomy. Y'all can Google that if you don't know what it is. And that was one of my fears with coming to Afua, because I was like, okay, well, they had to do an episiotomy. Are you going to have to do that too? And so she explained to me everything. And she was saying, you know, you have to take into consideration the position that you were in when you were in the hospital. Giving birth on your back is not a natural position to birth. Some people do. It depends on how the baby lets you know how they want to come out. Right. And you listen to your body. But needless to say, I did not have to have an episiotomy with Afua. And Afua told me, out of her over 1,100 babies that she's delivered, she's only had to do an episiotomy on 5 people.
I think I probably had one.
Wow.
No, you didn't have a
That wasn't an episiotomy. That was just something, a little snip.
No, I didn't snip.
Wow.
With KJ, I think with KJ you had to a little bit, just a little bit, because he wasn't coming out. Girl, I can show you the video.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. You know, Victoria took a video. But yeah, so
she was one of the 5.
yeah. It wasn't bad though. Like I didn't have it was a little just a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I had a 3rd degree episiotomy.
Oh yeah,
so that's all the way there. So yeah, but needless to say, Afua is like she is I feel like when you're pregnant. The reason why I chose to go this route and make sure that I was not going to have a hospital birth is because I had to backtrack and look at how things used to be done. And so prior to this inception of Western medicine, this is how women had babies. And this was just what you did until there was this takeover of this medical industry, which we have to take into consideration that it's a business, and the U.S. is the only country that profits off of people getting sick and ailments, and they dub being pregnant and going into labor as an illness. It's a procedure. It's a condition.
A disability.
It's a disability. Things that it's really not. When I was in the hospital with my first son, I felt, like I was disabled. Like I couldn't really feel this euphoric feeling that I've heard other women say that they experience. But when I had Jamal, child, I was on cloud 9. Could nobody tell me nothing at all. Like I was literally floating. I've never felt that, elevated in my life. But it's definitely an experience. And like I was saying, I had to look at how things were before.
And one of the things that when you talk to women who have their babies in the hospital, they don't have that feeling.
No.
The majority of them do not. It's like they have their baby. They're happy to have their baby, but the feeling of empowerment that they made it through it's not there. And so when people say, why would you want an unmedicated birth? I tell them is because times are hard. Life is hard. Like every now and then you get a good time. Oh, we having a good time. Like you bought your house. It was all nice. Then now you got to go back to work. And, it's like, and when hard times come, you can always look back on your birth and say, I made it. If I can make it through that, I can, whatever this hard time is. And so when women have an epidural, they give up
their power.
They give up their power. And they're like, girl, I don't know what you would do that for. But they don't know how powerful they are. Right. And you're like, oh, and you can't even convince them.
Why are you taking everything out of my mouth like
I'm sorry.
You just...
But she's right. Like it.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
100%. And that's one of the things that I learned with my KJ Kareem when I had him, and it's just priceless.
It is.
It's priceless to have an experience to where in that, because this is a beautiful thing that I've learned. You have to challenge yourself. Sometimes you have to put a challenge up against yourself for you to reach new heights.
Yeah.
For
agreed.
example, fasting. That's a challenge. That's a self-induced challenge
Facts.
that you go through
Facts.
to take you to higher levels. Or let's say going to the gym, eating healthy, things like that. Putting yourself through something so that you can come out better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People have a hard time doing that.
Just proving things.
The self-discipline that you have to put yourself through something just to better who you are.
Right.
This birthing process at the birthing place and deciding to use a midwife was one of those things.
Right. Yeah.
Self-induced challenges to take yourself to all new highs.
It is, and I want to say this because it's not that you're alone in this process. Like Afua said, we have group prenatal, and so mommies like myself and Desiree and other mommies who've birthed with Afua, we come back and we pay it forward.
Yes.
Because it's not familiar territory to a lot of us.
Right.
And so to, like Desiree was saying earlier, to see that there are actually women who went through this and women that were here at the birthing place that birthed their babies, or Afua was in their homes and they birthed their babies in their homes, they're coming back to encourage those that are bellies right now, mommies and bellies.
Right.
So, but Afua, I have a question for you. So, I know that you spoke earlier about the infant mortality rate,
and morbidity.
and then also with moms as well,
Right.
particularly in African American communities.
Correct.
What is it about? Because we all know that a lot of African American people don't like going to the hospital for like if they have a cold, they're sick, just regular stuff. They won't go to the hospital. They'll rather like deal with it at home. But what is it about? They'll deal with it at home with that, but when it comes to pregnancies and having their baby, they'll go to the hospital.
Yeah. So you want to know why people go to the hospital to have their baby? Well, I mean, because
particularly in our community with that rate like that.
Well, first of all, like his wife was saying, what if something goes wrong? So really it's a lack of education, okay? And I'm not talking about school education, that you don't have a college degree. It's a lack of education about what actually happens in the hospital to then make the decision, because when you have an out-of-hospital birth, you as the woman are taking on responsibility. When I say, are you drinking enough water, and you're not drinking enough water, and then you start contracting and have to go to the hospital, you have to do, like, there are things that you are responsible for. Most of the time when women go to the doctor, they don't say, well, what is your weight gain? Because they know ultimately they'll cut it out. If you're not the optimal candidate, they're going to cut it out. And so there's a segment of the population, a huge segment of the population, that doesn't want to take responsibility for their birth. And then there's another part that they think they are, but then when they actually get into the system, when they go to a physician, they don't know what the system is.
Right.
They don't know that, okay, I have a lot of moms who say, the doctor said, yeah, I can have my VBAC, but then when I get to 37 weeks, no, they change their mind. I had an African-American woman come to me and say, at 32 weeks, in the beginning of her pregnancy, the doctor said, yes, you can have your VBAC. And then at 32
Your
weeks,
what back?
VBAC is a vaginal birth after cesarean. So she had a cesarean the first time.
Okay.
And she went back to the same doctor 6 years later, because she said he was nice. And I was like, and so then he told her, well, you know, African American and Latina women, their bodies are not made to deliver vaginally. And so she came here to ask me if that was true and to seek services, but then she was like, no, I'm going to stay with the doctor. And I'm like, she said, Jesus is going to see me through. I said, well, Jesus was standing there when you had your first C-section, and Jesus will be there when you have your second one. I mean, only because if he already told her, because she was African American, she's not gonna.
And she received that.
Yeah, but she said no. She was gonna have her vaginal delivery, and I was like, okay. So I wish her luck. You know,
But
I
she
wish her luck.
came to you.
She came to ask information. She was
Okay,
32 weeks pregnant.
Okay.
And she really she was looking for alternatives. There was the cost, the distance, and she didn't want to take responsibility.
Let me ask you a question before you. Is it too late at 32 weeks to decide?
I had a woman come to me who, like, there are a lot of international clients, okay? And they come at 34, 35 weeks. And this particular woman had come, and she didn't, she had called me, but she found a birth center that was less expensive.
Okay.
So she had an appointment on Monday. Her first appointment was on Monday. She was 37 weeks. Well, Sunday she went into labor. And because she wasn't their client, she didn't have their on-call number. And she kept calling them. And so I said, yeah, but you don't want to pay me. So, she was like, I said, you can go to the hospital. And I knew the hospital was going to be more money. But she came, and she had great records and everything. And I caught the baby. But she paid me. She paid me, too.
Shit.
Yeah, right? So, I mean, I had a mom who was 40 weeks. She was going to the doctor, wasn't even thinking about a midwife. And the doctor said, okay, we're going to induce you. And she said, no, this is my second baby. I, had my first. I'll just wait to go into labor. She had her 2-year-old there. And the doctor said, you could die, the baby could die. And here then the little boy start crying, Mommy, you and the baby are going to die? And so she left the doctor's office totally perplexed. She looked around for birth centers. She found a colleague of mine's birth center, but I ended up going to deliver the baby. She had the baby 2 days later,
No induction needed.
Yeah, no induction needed. And the doctor called her, and she said, I had the baby. She said, where? She said, like, none of your business. It's like, none of your business. Like, none,
Yeah.
But it's about taking responsibility. And so some women aren't knowledgeable enough. Some women don't want to do it, and then some can't afford it. I totally get that. And I used to say it's just not the women who could afford my services who should have them. But lately I've been bit, and I'm not doing it anymore. Like, I have given discounts. And that paying it forward thing, like, they don't come back. They're like, oh, no, I got to go to church. One mom told me after she had her baby here, I was like, I really need you to come and explain, because she came 3 times. In one day she came 3 times, and I wanted her to explain to the moms that could happen. She's like, no, I got to go to church. I said, well, what do you think this is? It's because I feed you, we share, we commune, it's church. It's the church of the birthing place.
Yeah.
She said, we having a program. I said, so am I. Like, so are we. And when I tell you, I had given her a discount so that she could have her baby here. And I'm not saying that Jesus, Lord, whatever is before me, but it's like,
You get the same camaraderie
here.
And that's another thing that we're missing in our society is this is what women used to do, is sit down and converse and talk and this and the other. That is what church is. It is a congregation. And we congregate, we break bread, we laugh, we learn.
And share.
And share
you share
and teach.
Experience. And, it's like the whole 9 yards. It's like, now I don't do it anymore. Like, when I tell you I don't do it, and I feel sorry. But the only way that I cannot feel the way I do when I give of myself, because people I give a discount to, I don't treat them differently. I don't, okay, well, you only paid this month, so that's how much service I'm going to give you. And no, like, you sit in the room, you have no idea that some of them people didn't pay a dime.
Yeah.
Right? You don't, but I don't do it anymore. But I tell you, that's unfortunate. But what it makes me feel like when they look at my face and say, no, I'm busy.
Yeah, it's ungrateful.
Yeah.
Well, I won't even say what it is, but I don't feel good, and I don't want to feel that anymore.
Yeah.
And so I'm not gonna. Like, that's just not how it works.
Yeah. I agree. Afua, talk about your 4th child, of whom this birthing place is attributed to?
My second child.
Second child.
My second child. So I had 2 girls and 2 boys. And the first birth, I was in labor for 2 days. And the second one, Maya, it was, she was like, I don't care what you were doing the first time, 5 hours, it was over. Her whole life was, I got something else to do. I don't have time for this. The first one, my first daughter didn't eat food for a year. Maya was like, at 3 months, she said, give me some food. And, you know, when you start giving them food, their poop changes. I was not, and then you got to do stuff. I was like, no. Then she kept grabbing at the food. I said, get some teeth, I give you some food. 4 months, she woke up with 4 teeth. Like, you see how she drooling? My kids didn't do all that drooling for teeth. They didn't do any of that. She was like, okay, I got my 4 teeth. So then she got food. 9 months, she was like, I'm not breastfeeding anymore. I was like, what? Come on. But all my kids go away for high school. And so she was in Connecticut because she was taking care of my mom at the time. And she had come home, graduated, and was getting ready to go to college, and she had a pain in her back. And I was like, oh, you probably have a urinary tract infection. Here, drink some water. Give me a urine sample. It wasn't that. It was stage 4 cancer. And so
This is your daughter.
This is my daughter. She got diagnosed at 18. Diagnosis to death was 10 months. And during that 10 months of transitioning, she said, Mom, you got to have a birth center. She said, because everybody can't have a home birth. And I was just a home birth midwife. I mean, there were a couple of babies that were born here because the mom came and to get checked and the baby kind of just came out, but it really wasn't a licensed birth center. And so she transitioned in July of 2010, and I opened up the birth center in May of 2011. And it's funny, every time I have somebody who was born in 1990, because that was the year she was born, is like, I was like, oh, it's another one, because I didn't get to catch her babies. And so it has been a wonderful experience, because I might not have met y'all if, you know, you were looking for a birth center as opposed to a home birth. So Maya has transformed my life as she transitioned to be this place is a beacon, right? And I'm so fortunate to have had her for the 19 years that I had her. Of course, in the beginning, I was like, people were like, oh, she's in a better place. I'm like, no, she's not. Like, she's supposed to be with me. Like, we're supposed to go to the movies, and I'm supposed to catch her babies. But 8 years later, I am so glad that I had her for the 19 years that I had her. When new women come through the door, I'm like, she bringing them through the door. And even people who just come and for whatever reason don't use the services, they're coming through the door because she opened up the door.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
We give her a moment of silence, man, for
Maya.
for bringing about such a beautiful establishment. Yeah. So, man, this is a beautiful establishment. Even when I pulled up today, I could just feel, like I said, you know, I set off of air, you know, my energy was kind of off this morning, but coming in, seeing T-Melly come in with Jamal, seeing Coach Waller come in with Cara, seeing you, Miss Afua, it just, this is a beautiful place.
Thank you so much.
And like I told them in episode 11, I'm going to do what my wife says that she wants to do, because she's a realist about it. Look, things can go wrong. You're having a child, things can go wrong. So I'm going to do what she wants to do. But meeting Takara, meeting Coach Waller, like Takara and I have always been family from the beginning. She helped me in so many ways with my company, get it off the ground. Mm-hmm. She helped me with a lot of projects. She taught me a couple of things about these cameras that we use and stuff like that. So we've always been family. Coach Waller, she gave me the opportunity, Miss Afua, to finance my wedding the way I wanted to finance it. I know nothing about volleyball,
Right.
but what I do know about is connecting with kids, connecting with people. I know a lot about that. So these two women right here, when I found out how close we were intertwined
Correct.
without knowing each other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've known Takar 8 years now.
Right.
Coach Waller and I are going on 2 years.
Right.
So to see how closely knit we were, I had to do this podcast with y'all. I needed it. I like when earlier this year I was like, this is the chain of events that occurred. So I was like, all right, well, we did the first episode. They're going to have babies, so we got to pause. Because I was like, man, well, maybe we could squeeze out another episode.
Correct.
And I'm talking about outside of T-Melly.
Right.
Then I was like, nah, I can't do it without T-Melly.
Right.
I got to have her there. So then when they both had babies, I said, okay, well, they got to nurture these babies. They didn't carry them for 9 months, damn near 10 months.
Yeah, it is 10 months.
Yeah,
it is
damn near 10
months.
months. They didn't carry these kids. They got to nurture these babies. But I got to have them both back, right?
Right.
So then originally it was supposed to be 6 months later because I wanted to do it in June.
Right.
Well, we didn't have this set up. We didn't have all of
Right.
this. Me and T-Melly didn't have all of this until maybe episode 13.
Yeah,
Episode 13.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to do 2 episodes and then bring them into the summertime.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, it's just been, this place right here is just, I can feel
Life.
the love, the life, the energy in here, and it's a positive one.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Let me wrap the segment today with these 2 quotes.
No, wait.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Listen.
Go ahead.
I know Afua mentioned briefly.
Okay.
But I do want to emphasize that she is really about family. There's a lot of emphasis on moms, of course, because moms is carrying the baby. But
Right.
Afua hosts dads meetings.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
dads also need that support because they also feel like, okay, what do I do? Because she's doing all the work and I need to do, she helps with that as well. So I do want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
Because I know that's you conscious community people. I get it. We get it. I'm with y'all. Okay, I'm with y'all. It's not a feminist thing. It is a sisterhood that we have. It is not a Europeanized feminist ideology of the moms meeting. It is a sisterhood, and she has the same meetings for dads, which is more of a brotherhood and camaraderie. And together, you can consider it church, like we said, because it is congregating, it's breaking bread, it's teaching, it's learning.
Feeding your spirit.
It's feeding your spirit. It's encouraging you. It's inspiring you. So that is extremely imperative with bringing forth life.
And quick, I just want to say to Afua, thank you so much for everything.
Facts.
Not just for escorting these beautiful children and the other 1,100 children that you have helped enter into this
And
realm,
the next 1,100.
but just for being like literally who you are. You are the kind of woman that we are all striving to be.
Facts.
Not in nothing material like that, but living and working in your passion and in your purpose.
Yeah.
Because see, me and I know Takara and I know John Ross Dyke here, we don't want to just come here and do mundane things. We want to do things that elevate us and things that we were sent here to do. Correct. You were here to birth children, birth
Facts.
moms, birth fathers,
Facts.
and you're doing that.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that you have managed to balance doing your passion and purpose and making money while doing so.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the ultimate goals while we are here on this plane, because you need money to do what you need to do.
Facts.
But we don't want to live a life that is unsatisfying because we are not doing what we came here to do.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? And when I think about Maya, she came and she did what she had to do. Yeah, she did. You know? And
Rest
the
in
beautiful
peace.
thing is that when our loved ones transition, they still do work on our behalf, like you just said, you know? So while we are here, we're trying to get to know ourselves more so that we can work in that purpose. Like, and I just love you for that, because every time I see you and hug you and see all the different women and the diversity that you bring here, it lets me know that you've tapped into your higher self and you have brought that thing to life and you have manifested something that is just amazing. Like,
Yeah.
you inspire me so much.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
for real. Like, you are it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Why Shelby got me crying, child?
Man. Whoa.
Like,
Listen,
you
man.
didn't see me get all
Yo,
little
we got. Oh
giddy,
God.
too.
Oh, keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
That's
Keep going.
just what it is.
We
I
got
mean, like,
babies
why are we
breastfeeding,
here?
babies sleep. We got tears.
Peace.
This place, man. The
Peace and
energy in this
power.
place,
Peace and
man.
power. Peace
Peace
and
and
power.
blessings, man. Peace and blessings.
Peace, power, and purpose.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
else are we
No
trying
doubt.
to do here but that?
No doubt.
Thank you so much.
I love you.
Oh man. Jesus.
I
It's-
love y'all too.
Yo, the energy in here is it's incredible. I don't want to end it, but let me these two quotes, and when I found them and I was like, let me see how they connect. But when Afua mentioned love, you mentioned feminist, you mentioned fear, both these quotes go.
Nothing's coincidence.
The first quote is for you, Miss Afua. One of my favorite things about being a midwife is my constant search to be better, to know more, and to consistently love what I do. Feminist midwife, #midwives make a difference. And his second one was giving birth should be a great achievement, not giving birth should be your greatest achievement, not your greatest fear. By Jane Wademan.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Also, when you said fear, driving down I-10, you saw the hospital on your right-hand side, because I know which way you were coming from.
Yeah.
You were coming into the city.
Yeah.
So you seen the hospital on your right, and you said it was fear. I said, this is the quote. Giving birth should be your greatest achievement, not your greatest fear.
And it was. Still is every day.
Songs of the week.
You didn't. I'm not. Okay. I'm always.
Because
prepared with songs
you
of
know
the week.
what? I wasn't prepared either. So as we keep going, I'll be able to find mine, because I was looking for a good one. Who want to go first? T, you want to explain it?
She's looking so confused. So, songs of the week is for our viewers to hear any song that you may love. Like, it can be new, it can be old, whatever.
Best part. Best part by her.
Ooh.
You better come through.
And Daniel Caesar, which was played at John Ross Dyke's wedding.
Yeah, facts. Me and wifey danced to that
They
yesterday
Oh.
in the house.
Ooh, sexy.
Yeah. So you said best part her.
Best part is by her.
By her. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm going to have to go with Selah by Lauryn Hill.
Okay.
Praise and meditation.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna do Lauryn Hill. I'm gonna go Zion by Lauryn Hill.
Oh, nice. That's
And I'm gonna go with just because it's the summertime, man. I'm gonna go back to the Carters. Everything Is Love album. First track on the album, Summer. I think it's summer or summertime, but the Carters summertime, whatever it is, summer.
The song that defines what I'm feeling right now. So, Happy Feelings by Frankie Beverly and Maze.
nice. You better
Cheer.
come through.
Hey, y'all got anything else?
Any last words, Afua?
Listen to Sweet Honey in the Rock. That's a cappella group, and the song is on children. That's a real good parenting song.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
I will say.
Keep going, because I
will
just
say-
feel
no,
like
no,
it
this is
shouldn't
for
be
you.
over.
This is my appreciation for you for being driven. That's another thing that, like, we all have so much to give.
Yes.
You know
Facts.
what I'm saying?
Facts.
You know, it's just a matter of us being it first, and then it just kind of shining out. So thank you for bringing us all together and
Oh, yeah.
letting us have this experience.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
if you didn't stay headstrong about it and make it
money to get this stuff because it wasn't free. You didn't
No.
pick it up on the corner.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
could have bought your wife something with it, with the money, you know.
Or you
Shout
could
out
have
to
even shout out to her.
Yeah.
You
What's
could
up,
have
love?
You could have even let whatever circumstances you had prior to coming here stop you from being in the right space to make something so beautiful like this happen. You know?
Yeah.
So it's just all about us just knowing ourselves, gratitude.
Yeah.
If you don't have a gratitude journal, get you one.
Yeah.
Write down what you're grateful for every day,
Absolutely.
big or small.
I want to say shout out to Jonathan St, man, for helping me put out episode 14.
Nice.
It was late. I apologize, Houston, Texas, but sometimes when you want something bad, you're going to sacrifice everything for it. And Jonathan St. he really helped me put it out. Shout out to Darrance Tezino, too, for helping me with this setup as well. And man, I don't have any other shout out. Shout out to my lovely wife. I love you.
We love you, Kizzy. And I want to shout out one of my Facebook friends. It's actually a male named Damien, and he was actually speaking on natural births. And a lot of women got on him about how dare you speak on women should have natural births, and you're a man and you have no idea. But this is a brother that was genuinely concerned about the high infant mortality rate, and the mothers passing as well. So he was genuinely concerned. So I do want to thank you for making that post. I know you got beat up behind it, but I do appreciate you for that.
And I might as well appreciate my guy, my love, Kareem Dream Wise, who was the person who reached out to Afua and got us here for our first birth. He found Afua.
What up, Kareem?
He called her and said, hey, we're going to come in. And it didn't take much. Like we said, to just know when it fits. It didn't take much. Once he had that conversation, we came in like the next weekend, and that was it. So shout out to him, because if it were not for him, we all probably wouldn't be sitting here right now, because he did.
Well,
I
y'all
mean,
ain't
he
finna
did
shout
it.
out y'all's doggone spouses and get me in trouble.
'Cause
Hey, honey.
I sure was finna follow that. Hey, appreciate you, Kareem and Grant, for letting me borrow your wives for this period of time. I appreciate y'all very much for that one, man. Peace and blessings.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode number 15, 7 months. My name is John Ross. To my immediate left, we got Takara T-Melly Taylor. To my right, we have Desiree Waller. To her right, we have Miss Afua Hassan, and we have the babies here, Gamal Taylor and Kara folks who are asleep, man. Houston, Texas, we love y'all. This is episode number 15, 7 months later. Peace and blessings. We're going.
Yo, it feel like 95, Sachi on my body, Biggie, Jigger, Puffy, all that ballin' is a hobby, and I'm wildin' in my wallies, them valleys, no Pilates, more way get you more way, nah that's these Spumante, my crystal ball, I see crystal, I crystal y'all with that, I saw the sign like Ace of Spades, that Ace of Spades get cracked me like, cheers to the money guys, the Willie niggas, who buy them bottles, and then they spill these liquors, yo, salute my dude. I see you, dawg. 5 bottles, 1 dick. Why I need 2 bras? I know I'm out of line, but love is shower time. You know it rose rain when your cloud is 9. Get off that high ass hussy. This a private party. Been on my dick too long. Your breath on private party. You gon' be nice and naughty. These walls on priceless Audi. This the upper crust. Fuck is up. Over and done. Overdose. Guess we did it again. Sippin' with no remorse. We gon' do it again, and we gon' do it again.
What we do